The third set of the day will be played on Newkirk, spawning in the bottom left-hand position. Bottom right-hand position as the red Terran from WOONGJIN stars. His name is Light.
His opponent playing for KT Roaster, hitmaN spawning as the green Zerg on the left bottom position on Newkirk.
The secret weapon versus the invisible Terran man. Who is going to come out ahead here? That's the real question.
This is gonna be a tough one to call, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, man. It's like whenever I see a hitmaN, I always laugh for some reason. Maybe it's because of those little jokes that you're trying to tell me before the game begins, or maybe it's just because he has a really fierce look, or maybe we say hitmaN like always, hitmaN, before going to the match.
Oh man, he is hitmaN. That is his name.
Alright, so hitmaN seems like he wants to go for hatchery first, getting up. Well, excuse me. I was trying to add 13 and
You're
3
getting ahead of yourself there, man. Like, we don't even know what's going on
way
yet.
ahead of myself. Well, if he does get a hatchery first, it's all okay.
Yeah, if he does. If not, you're going to be hang, drawn, and quartered, man. You better watch out.
It's okay. It happens once a week.
You'd be dead so many times if that was the case.
Well, I'm still alive, man. I even choked on this little thing yesterday, and hey, I'm still here.
Yeah, the earpiece for your mic.
No, it's actually called a microphone sponge. Hey, yeah. Hatchery first. Yes, I was right.
All right, so you are correct about that hatchery first, and we are going to see Light match the economic prowess of hitmaN with a command center first of his own, and there it goes right now. So looks like both players want to play a very economic game from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, this is a map where it's not as large but not as small, and it's, you know, a lot of players decide to go for a little bit more economic play than strategy play. I mean, we saw one player try to go for proxy barracks, aka turn, and he was shut down pretty hard when Beast scouted what he was going for. So we see more players trying to play a little bit more economic game and trying to play it just like ladder, except when it goes to the mid game and the late game, when the players have to start taking the 4th base and the 5th base.
Well, I mean, if you look at the map overall, Newkirk, it's a map that allows itself to be played in many different ways. You can play a very positional-based game on this map. You can play a very economic game because there are so many expansions that are relatively easy to take on this map. And, you know, the rush distance between both bases is not too small, but it's also, like you said, not too large. So there is a little bit of room for aggressive play.
And I think that's the reason why we're seeing a lot more races being sent out on this map compared to a lot of PvPs on Fighting Spirit and Naro Station. Because, you know, any race can come out here, they could play the style that they want. Doesn't matter if it's aggressive or, you know, really passive. They could make it work.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so it looks like we have hitmaN going for a pair of queens here, along with a pair of Zerglings that just hatched, and continuing to make some more drones. Orbital on the way for Light here, also grabbing a bunker, wants to make sure that he's safe against any annoying lane aggression early on in the game here. Very standard, solid stuff. Nothing really too noticeable or important to note besides that.
Now, also one thing I want to point about the map is that yes, there's a little middle ground compared to the ladder edition of this map, Newkirk Precinct on ladder, but there's also little differences. For example, the main base is slightly smaller than the ladder map, so it's easier to scout some drops coming into the main base. The 3rd base on the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock is slightly closer to the natural, so it's easier to take that area. And the 3rd base that's really close to the natural, well, that area has less there's actually a lot more areas that the Zerg players can flank into.
Yeah, very good points there. I do like this map more over the ladder version. I actually hope they switch it out. That'd be really nice to see.
Yeah, so actually the ladder version became more of a 4 base versus 4 base. You really can't do it on this map. I mean, it's still possible, but players can opt to do different style, and that's the reason why this map seems a little more balanced, in my opinion.
Gotta completely agree with you there. All right, so looks like we have a 3rd command center and 3rd hatchery on the way here. Also, notice how Light is walling off his natural using that 3rd command center. Just a nice little touch and flavor to his play, I guess I want to note there. A couple of Hellions out on the way from Light as well. And we do have Zergling speed starting for hitmaN. and also Stim being researched by Light. So both players continuing to just play that very economic style that was echoed earlier on in the game.
Yeah. I want to go back on this. Using the command center to wall off is actually not a bad play. You know, the command center have a lot of HP, and you could use that instead of making multiple supply depots for yourself. And it really depends on how the player decides to play out. Do they want to hide the third command center, or do they not care that the command center has been scouted? In the beginning, we saw innovation, even using a command center and a barracks to go for the CC first and then wall off completely inside the main base and took the expansion when it was safe to do so. Now we're seeing players going for the 15 CC right away at the natural, and then start getting the command center at the natural, and then start slowly moving it over to the third base when they decide it is safe to do so.
You're going to eventually start seeing people take like the third base command center as their natural. They're like, I'm just going to be way ahead of the meta at this point. All right, a little bit of Hellion harass here from Light, but hitmaN's defenses will not be broken here. He's got a lot of queens there, able to cover this area pretty easily here, and a lot of creep spread starting to come from hitmaN as well. Widow Mines on the way from Light here. Very common in this in the Terran versus Zerg unit composition nowadays after opening up with those Hellions, and really both players just continuing along their merry way, getting their double upgrades from both sides. Baneling Nest and the Lair are on the way from hitmaN here, so it looks like he'll probably be moving into that Mutiling Zergling composition.
That is actually the most common composition on ladder these days, trying to deal against the Widow Mines and the Bioforce until they could get the Hive and start getting the Ultras out. The problem is, yes, the main composition is going to be Mutiling Baneling, but how do they survive long enough to get the Hive up and then, you know, try to get the Ultras out, or do they even use Infestors in the middle and trying to abuse the Fungal against the Bio Army?
Fungal, of course, much harder to use in Heart of the Swarm over the earlier stages of Wings of Liberty, or I guess mid-stages. They actually buffed Fungal because it was underpowered, and then it was overpowered, and then they like nerfed it again towards the end, and that's the version of Fungal we do see in HOTS. Also, something important to note, a lot of Zerglings on the way here from hitmaN. His 1-1 is about to complete, and Centrifugal Hooks is on the way. That will, of course, allow his Banelings to roll instead of waddle across the map.
We're already 10 minutes into the game, and look at the creep spread by hitmaN. He's covering his side of the map completely, and he's slowly moving out. That's because he made so many queens early on in the game, and now he has nice map coverage. This is something that Zerg players need to have when they're playing against Terran players, because they need to scout where the main army of the Terran player is, and they also need to account for small metaback drops that they might spot using the creep.
Yeah. All right, looks like we're seeing Light begin his aggressive play here. I have to say this is one of the most passive TvZs I've seen so far, but I'm sure that's about to change here. We're going to see a lot of aggression come really soon here from Light. We've seen a lot of the play from him before where, you know, he just starts and then he doesn't stop, but the Centrifugal Hooks upgrade just about to complete. Spire also completed.
That's not that many units, and the Widow Mines are slightly out of position.
Oh, the Widow Mines moving in there. It looks like hitmaN trying to use those Zerglings to bait out a few of those Widow Mines. He does manage to do one. And now we have hitmaN moving in here, but he has to watch out for those Widow Mines. Needs to be very careful. But the creep spread still quite good for hitmaN. Nice scan, though, from Light. Going to really try to put a stop to the creep spread before it gets too out of control here. And overall, a pretty efficient trade for Light. Also moving a Viking out on the map, probably trying to snipe off a few Overlords and force them back into hitmaN's main base here.
Yeah, and that also allows hitmaN Light to actually go for the multiple drops that he wants to do. You know, really aggressive play that he has to do as a Terran player. Now, what's interesting is that hitmaN made a little mistake with the Banelings before. You know, we saw multiple Banelings trying to splash into the Widow Mine. In fact, he could just use the Zerglings, ignore the Widow Mine that was deactivated, and then go for the Marine. So he could have had a little better engagement, but at least it's not devastating enough to end the game for hitmaN.
Light's still doing a very nice job at trying to push this creep spread back, because I got to be honest, it was starting to get a little bit out of control here. It looks like Widow Mines are taken out there, and now hitmaN losing a few Banelings there, being a bit cost inefficient. But look at this, he's looking to try to get a very nice flank and surround on his opponent. Light, where is he going to go with this army? He's getting absolutely surrounded here. Good Baneling connects, and lots of the Marines go down. Those Mutas are going to shred apart those units, but look at Light quickly boosting out of there. Overall, though, pretty impressive, I guess, pincer move there from hitmaN.
Yeah, it was possible because Light was out of position and the Widow Mines were nowhere to be found. Usually, if you see players like Flash, they start falling back to the Widow Mines. Light, when he decides to do that, he realized, oh, I don't have a WOONGJIN over there. What do I do from this point on?
Well, you just die. That's what happens. All right, well, hitmaN, it looks like he's going to have to deal with a drop here pretty soon, but he should be aware of this. Look at that, already having his Zerglings prepared for that. He is looking pretty solid today, I have to say, and decent Banelink connection going off there. The Mutas are going to be able to snipe down this drop, and Light forced to lift up, and oh, is he going to lose it? Yes, he does lose the medevac. Light is still ahead in the supply war right now, though, 151 to 138. No fourth base quite yet from Light, though it looks like he plans on starting that up very soon here.
What's interesting is that at this point in the game, around 15 minutes, the biggest problem for the Zerg player is, you know, they might be able to handle the main army from the Terran player, but they can't handle the multiple medevac drops, and Light just gave one away for free. So now, hitmaN, he's getting a 4th hatchery for himself. His economy hasn't been touched at all. He's still sitting on 67 drones, and now he's going to go for the counterattack.
The Banelings rolling in. That's a lot of Banelings there. Will they just go for the main base, killing off a lot of units there? They're going to go into the mineral line. SCV's getting obliterated. hitmaN taking a humongous economic lead here, killing off 17 workers, and the supplies now have changed. They are in hitmaN's favor. Light, he can't do any type of multi-pronged harassment, I feel. His earlier attacks in the game have been thwarted quite easily here, and you know, hitmaN just playing very solid.
Really nice pickup by Light at the last second. Almost gave it all away for free once again.
Unfortunately, the Mutas are going to be chasing down that medevac, and hitmaN completely ready here. He is playing quite impressive today, and as long as he can, you know, saturate that 4th base, I think he'll be able to eventually take this game.
He doesn't have... He has 7 WOONGJINs, but they're nowhere to be found, really. You know, we've seen a lot of players start losing a ZBT already one game, and they start losing a match because they start suiciding into WOONGJINs one by one. And Light, this is what he needs to do. He needs to spread out the WOONGJINs around the map where the Mutas can actually fly over, and where hitmaN is not going to notice.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't look like hitmaN's going to be able to or really have to worry about these drops too much. Light isn't trying that much. He is starting to press forward here, trying to deny more creep here, but really the only thing he's able to do is just land a few WOONGJINs, and now hitmaN trying to move around. It looks like he's going to try the target, that 4th base potentially there, moving in with a lot of his units. He needs to be very careful of the WOONGJINs. Light's army, though, completely out of position, but look at this, a nice double drop from Light. This could be what he's going for, but now hitmaN going straight to the heart of Light's base, and we're going to see nice Banelink connections here. Uh-oh, that 3rd base is going to be completely demolished.
Well, 3rd base is not the problem, because now hitmaN is pressing towards the main base. He can't actually take out all the Zerglings and the Banelings. Banelings going to connect to the SCVs once again.
This is looking so bad for Light. The Zerglings going into the main base, but at the same time, Light's drop at the main base of hitmaN doing a lot, but hitmaN, he is everywhere, man. He's hitting the main base, he's hitting the natural, the 3rd and the 4th. And Light trying to do a drop here now at the 3rd base, but it looks like hitmaN has just enough units to defend against this. And the problem for Light is the reinforcements have essentially been dropped off. And this planetary fortress, I mean, it can be repaired by those SCVs, but that's all that can really be done at this point. And hitmaN taking a humongous over 50 supply lead now.
Now look at this. Even if Light does deflect this attack, he lost the main base. He's losing the important tech buildings. And look at the SCV count versus a drone count: 24 SCVs to 59 drones. You know, hitmaN, what was so amazing in that engagement is that he took out all the SCVs at the 3rd base, all the SCVs at the natural. So now Light's economy has been crippled, and it's hard for him to go for multi-pronged drops from this point on, because he doesn't have the economy to make extra bioforces.
Light simply just doesn't have a lot of things right now. No, looks like we have a potential attack going on here. Look at that, 20 Mutas out right now, 19 Banelings, and 49 Zerglings. hitmaN moving in for the kill. He has to be very careful. That's a lot of WOONGJINs. They're going to be able to connect, killing. Uh-oh, this could be very bad, but it looks like all of the WOONGJINs have been detonated here, and all of the Banelings getting taken out, but the Muta count, it's still very large here. All of the medevacs, they may eventually be taken out here as well, and things are just not looking good for our Terran player Light at this point.
Yeah, hitmaN doesn't give a crap about those WOONGJINs in the middle of the base, because he knows that he won the game completely.
Going for that 3rd base, it gets taken down. And the Marines, they're reinforcing here, but the Zergling count so large at this point. The Mutas, they can do whatever they want now. hitmaN completely dominating the game. GG! hitmaN takes Game 3 over Light here. Holy crap, he played so good that game.
He played so aggressive even if the Widow Mines were out on the field, and Light, not having the perfect Widow Mine location, hitmaN abused that. Instead of waiting for Light to push out further in the map, he started taking apart Light's army one by one. The drops, they never work except for the last one when it didn't really matter.
Guys, hitmaN Rookie of the Year. I see it happening right now, man.
Wow.
After that match, he's going to be the rookie. All right, guys, currently the score 3-0. KT Rolster leading over WOONGJIN Stars.